Ariana Grande just showed up in a dress that hasn't seen a camera in over half a century. Not a replica, not a tribute piece, the exact same gown once worn by a Hollywood legend at the height of classic television. At first glance, it looks like a simple vintage fashion moment for an SNL promo, but fans immediately started asking questions. Why this dress? Why now? And why does it feel like Ariana is quietly signaling something bigger about where her career is heading next? Because once you trace the history behind this look, it starts to feel less like styling and more like a statement. The moment the Saturday Night Live promo dropped, fans zeroed in on Ariana's outfit before she even delivered a single joke. The gown stood out instantly. It didn't look trendy, modern, or experimental. It looked timeless. The kind of piece that feels like it belongs to another era of Hollywood. And that's because it did. Within hours, fashion insiders and longtime TV fans recognized it. The dress wasn't just vintage, it was a Bob Mackie original from the early 1970s, over 50 years old, carefully preserved, and once worn on national television by someone whose name still carries serious weight in comedy history. Back in 1973, the gown appeared on The Carol Burnett Show, worn by Carol Burnett herself during one of the most iconic periods of her career. Bob Mackie designs aren't just outfits, they're cultural artifacts. His work is tied to moments that defined American entertainment, from sketch comedy to music legends to award show history. So when Ariana stepped into that gown for a modern SNL promo, it immediately raised eyebrows. This wasn't about borrowing something old for aesthetic value. It felt deliberate, like she was stepping into a legacy rather than just a look. And once people realized who originally wore it, the conversation completely shifted. To understand why this dress matters, you have to understand who Carol Burnett is. Long before viral sketches and late-night clips flooded the internet, Carol Burnett defined television comedy. Her show wasn't just popular, it shaped what sketch comedy would become for decades. Physical humor, sharp timing, fearless characters, all of it set the foundation for what audiences now expect from shows like SNL. Carol Burnett wasn't just funny, she was respected in a way very few comedians ever are. She proved that comedy could be smart, emotional, and wildly entertaining all at once. So when Ariana stepped into that gown for a modern SNL promo, fans immediately raised eyebrows. This wasn't about borrowing something old for aesthetic value. It felt deliberate, like she was stepping into a legacy rather than just a look. And once people realized who originally wore it, the conversation completely shifted.
Not long before this SNL appearance, Ariana said something that quietly shifted how fans looked at her career. In an interview, she admitted that acting had taken the front seat over music. Not forever, not as a goodbye, but as a focus. She talked about being more inspired by characters, scripts, and being on stage in different ways, while promising she wasn't done singing. At the time, some people brushed it off as a casual comment, but moments like this SNL promo made that statement feel a lot more real. Fans started connecting dots. Fewer musical releases, more acting commitments, bigger roles, and now a very public homage to a comedy icon right before hosting one of the biggest sketch shows on television. Online buzz quickly framed the dress as more than nostalgia. It was seen as a visual clue, almost like Ariana was saying she's thinking long-term, not just about albums, but about legacy. Comedy, acting, and storytelling started to look like central pieces of her future, not side projects squeezed between tours. Of course, none of this was confirmed. These were fan theories, speculation, and quiet observations stacking up over time. But when a pop star starts making choices that consistently point in the same direction, people notice. And her most recent acting role only made those theories harder to ignore. Ariana's role as Glinda in Wicked didn't just add another credit to her resume, it changed how a lot of people viewed her. For years, she was primarily seen as a pop powerhouse who could act if needed. But Wicked flipped that narrative. It demanded range, emotional control, and the ability to live inside a character for long stretches of time. And she delivered in a way that surprised even longtime critics. The performance showed restraint, precision, a willingness to disappear into the role instead of relying on star power, and that's where the connection to this SNL moment starts to feel intentional. Carol Burnett wasn't known for being flashy. She was known for craft, for committing fully to every character, whether it was played for laughs or heart. Fans began to see Ariana's choices as part of a bigger reinvention, less about chasing charts, more about building credibility across different forms of performance. Theater, film, sketch comedy. Each move felt like it was stacking towards something more lasting than a single era. And when you view the Bob Mackie dress through that lens, it stops feeling like fashion nostalgia and starts feeling like alignment, a quiet message about the kind of performer Ariana wants to be associated with. But there was still another layer to this moment that people quickly picked up on. There's a subtle but powerful connection that many fans noticed almost immediately: Cher. The legendary singer and actress appears in the same SNL promo alongside Ariana, and that pairing is far from random. Cher has long been one of Bob Mackie's most famous muses, wearing his designs on countless red carpets and television appearances over the decades. The designer's creations and Cher's bold persona are practically inseparable in pop culture history. By wearing a Mackie gown that Cher herself could have worn, Ariana was creating a bridge between eras, linking classic Hollywood glamour, sketch comedy heritage, and modern pop culture all in a single visual statement. It wasn't just a dress, it was a conversation across generations, a nod to comedy, music, and style legends that fans couldn't help but notice. The way Ariana posed, shared BTS clips, and even tagged Carol Burnett in her posts made it clear that every detail was deliberate. The connections weren't subtle, they were meant to be discovered, speculated about, and talked over by fans who were hungry for hidden meaning. And once that conversation started, it only amplified the buzz surrounding the promo. But Ariana's approach to sharing this moment didn't stop at fashion. Her social media posts added yet another layer of intrigue.
Ariana didn't just wear the dress and leave it at that. She brought fans behind the scenes, posting videos from the promo shoot and sharing a carousel of images that highlighted every detail of the gown. One of the images even tagged Carol Burnett herself, subtly drawing attention to the dress's legendary history. And her caption? Minimal, just a simple "Heart Daisy," but it spoke volumes. The comment section exploded almost immediately. Fans and fellow celebrities poured in praise, speculating on everything from her fashion choice to what it could mean for her future. Some suggested it was a clear nod to an increasing focus on acting and comedy. Others marveled at the boldness of honoring a legend while stepping into her own comedic moment on SNL. Ariana has always been skilled at communicating without words, and this instance was no exception. Every detail, from her hairstyle to the perfectly chosen gown, created a story for fans to piece together. Social media became a playground for theories, discussions, and excitement, all centered on one simple promo moment. And when you consider the layers, the vintage dress, the homage to Carol Burnett, the Cher connection, and Ariana's own evolving career, it becomes clear that this wasn't just another promo. It was a carefully crafted statement, one that hinted at bigger things to come and left fans eagerly waiting for what Ariana would do next. The dress, at first glance, might have seemed like a simple vintage fashion choice, but when you unpack it, it becomes much more than that. Ariana Grande wasn't just wearing a gown from the past, she was aligning herself with comedy legends, paying tribute to a timeless Hollywood icon, and signaling a shift in her own career. Every detail, from the Bob Mackie design to the subtle Cher connection, tells a story of intention and legacy. Fans are left wondering what this could mean for Ariana's next steps. Will we see her diving deeper into acting, more hosting, sketch comedy that surprises us all? One thing is clear, she's crafting a new chapter, blending homage, style, and ambition into a statement that speaks louder than words. And as viewers, we're left watching, speculating, and waiting for the next move, knowing that Ariana's journey is far from predictable, and every choice she makes could be another signal of a larger story unfolding.